Game number 2, guys, here in the finals in this last best of 3 of the day to decide which team is superior, Acer or mYinsanity. At least for this particular instance in the EES 2013 Winter League. The ESL Euro Series is, of course, wrapping up here, and this is the playoffs. One of these teams will go on to the finals, and this match could decide it all. This series certainly decides it all. We'll see if Nerchio can keep 2-0 on top of Jjakji, or if Jjakji can bring it back and maybe turn the series around. One way or another, we find ourselves on Frost. I'm Rifkin. You're watching this on BaseTradeTV and spawning in the lower left corner of the map. He's blue, he's Terran, he's from mYinsanity, and he's probably taken his first loss in God knows how long. It is Jjakji. And in the upper right, the Leonidas Zerg, proving that a God King can bleed. I've been using that reference a lot lately. I watched 300 just a week ago. It is the red Zerg player from Acer, the Polish Nerchio. But okay, we'll see what ends up happening here. Jjakji, you know, it's weird to consider that game. Like, you'd have to really go and look at the replay to find out just like the exact point in which that started being deconstructed for Jjakji, but for Nerchio, you know, he was kind of on even army supply, but was able to trade superior every single time they engaged. I kind of fear that may be a problem here on Frost. Jjakji, though, you know, it's whoa, he's actually going to be going not only greedy with command center first, but on the low ground. Not that the low ground command center is a bad thing to do, and it's not like, well, what a noob, he's going to lose this game because he did it. But it's always risky against a player like Nerchio who's willing to come at you very fast, very early. If he scouts this, the one thing you can give Nerchio, guys, like, ignoring whatever you think about his BM or his playstyles or his, like, match history, victories, whatever, Nerchio is seriously one of the most intelligent players when it comes to this game. And there are some players out there who'll define his builds as like coin flippy and that he lucks out a lot, but nobody's that lucky. And a lot of the reason his coin flips work is because he knows when to make them and when to have builds turn out the way he needs them to. So if he sees the command center first, he may decide to go for an all-in, try and punish this, or you might just try and out economy Jjakji. Might take a quick third or something. Now we do notice that Nerchio did scout the top left corner of the map. Want to make sure Nerchio or Jjakji was not in horizontal spawn, as that will not only dictate the location of the third base, but also whether it limits this third base up here or not, or even the fourth base. Again, you never really love taking this base against a Terran player. This ledge comes into effect way more than it really should, but we'll see what Nerchio ends up doing. He's misscouted twice now, so through process of elimination, he's going to know that Jjakji's in the lower left. Looks like SCV will happen upon the base of Nerchio over here. You know, Jjakji's a player too. He's been doing this a lot lately. Like, he used to every single time you'd see him go for a repro opening, but of course when you go command center first, not really the option. I do like the bunker coming down though pretty early. Not delaying this means he's not going to run any sort of risk. And we'll follow this up appropriately. So a couple Marines in there too should be able to just keep this safe against any sort of Zerglings. It looks like the SCV did die over here and I missed this. We'll take advantage of something else to be first blood. I know, okay, this is officially first blood, but a couple leads come across the map. We'll not really get in much. I mean, actually, Jjakji, I like this. Moving out to try and pick some overlords off, or never mind. Stay at the top here. I was gonna say, I really love when people know predictive overlord pathing. It's not the easiest thing to do, but when you know an overlord's gonna be around your third base around like the 5-minute mark, you can send some Marines over there and sometimes secure a pretty nice kill. But Nerchio's just established the watchtowers for the time being. His overlords are spread quite nicely around the sides of the map, so seeing anything leave the base will not be too difficult. So Nerchio's not opted to go for that third base quick, but instead with 2 gases mining. I'm really curious to see if that Roach Warren's going to get slapped down, or if this will be a Baneling attack. Looks like evolution chambers for the time being, but I mean, this is always going to come down for part of the wall. Could just actually straight up be for double upgrades actually with that second gas. We'll see what he goes into here. It's going to really, you know, there's a build Tefl uses against Jjakji. He's made it actually work in the past. I'm trying to remember what cup it was. I want to say go for StarCraft, but Tefl versus Jjakji. Tefl just went like really heavy on the Roach Hydra aggression, and Jjakji wasn't able to keep up with it. If that's what Nerchio's got in mind, could be kind of cool, I guess. But third hatchery on the way, and Roaches can come out to deal with the Hellions at the very least. As he did not actually incorporate part of the wall off. Of course, on Frost, you got that little bit of a tighter choke. You can't quite do double evolution and a Roach Warren. You gotta stifle it a bit if you didn't do that. But Spine crawling on the way, the Roach Warren being put in the back of the base. Oh, I like this move. Oh, Polt is like one of the only other people I see do this move. When they know the creep tumor is here. You just attack the rocks and the splash damage will kill it. A small little thing, but a finesse thing nonetheless. Oh, and I said I'd do first blood, but I missed that too. Oh man, GG guys. GG. How do I play this game? Super sorry. Anyways, creep spread out of Nerchio is not too bad. Of course, you know, it's not usually until like the 11-minute mark you really can gauge just how insane versus not insane the creep spread is. But 1-1 weapons are on the way, and we have that layer tag coming up in just a moment's time. So it looks like Nerchio is just going to play this out a little bit more standard, going for those early upgrades in lieu of anything else. I was kind of like, if he took that layer with the extra gases, that would have been much quicker Mutalisks, of course, but not going to be the case here. Spore Car coming down this time beside the natural base. He knows that Jjakji is willing to use the Cloaked Banshees, but not going to happen this time. That third command sphere is actually already down for Jjakji. He's not mining off of it yet, but of course, just drop a couple mules down there, slam him down, get that income up high. We do see his income quite nice compared to that of Nerchio's. A couple Joes going to get picked off here, but nice pull and a couple Roach timing will drive these Hellions back for now. The fail fish for my first bloods. I know, guys. I know. I'm letting y'all down. The infestation pit. Whoa. Whoa. That is a really fast infestation pit coming out of Nerchio. Like worrisome fast. Now, I want to say this would be for a quicker hive. I would like if this was for a quicker hive. There's no reason to really go Swarm Host versus Bios. There's no way that's what he's going to be doing. Of course, there's always the chance it could be Infestors. Nerchio is a player who's actually very, very skilled with his Infestors. He's one of the few people who can like nail Fungal Growth like it's still instant cast. We'll see what it's going to be though. Roaches on the way here. Again, not really investing too heavily in the Roaches, but building them because they're cheap units that are rather effective here in the mid-game. They're not so great against a lot of Stim Marines or Marauders, but as far as keeping the Hellions at bay and not letting any sort of pressure slip past his lines, they're not too bad. Level 2 armor and weapon upgrades also on the way here for Nerchio. As far as Jjakji is concerned though, he's just kind of playing it safe at home. He's getting his infrastructure up. This time he's actually got the extra reactors on his barracks. Not going to get caught off guard by that again. Armory on the way to continue his own upgrades here in a moment's time. Where did that scan go down? Okay, so he's looking for the army of Nerchio is what he's doing with that scan. It's not for tech and it's not to check anything hidden. He's just trying to see where the roaches are so he can start moving out. Takes the watchtower though, sees a couple moving back. Might think there's a much larger army than there really is. Only catching the tail end of it. But it is, by the way, pathogen glands and infestors alongside a giant hive. This is a really fast timing for this though, and it's something that may catch Jjakji off guard because, you know, here's the reality guys, there's not going to be medevacs with this push, right? You're already stimming. With no healing, a fungal growth could absolutely cripple an army like this, but gets on top of this, had to expend a stem already. Nerchio trying to just kite that out. Another stem does go down, and looks like the roaches are not going to hold. Well, they should actually hold this. Never mind, I take that back. The medevacs on the front lines, I didn't see those there. But roaches tangoing with this are not the easy thing to deal with. You really need those Zerglings. You really need the Banelings, and we got no Banelings, but 38 Zerglings coming out in a moment's time. Roaches are going to try and do what they can, but the Zerglings coming in piecemeal might not be enough, funneling in and trickling into this army. He can always pick up and get out of here. Jjakji, though, just kiting back like a mouse. No anti-air to deal with these medevacs, and the Roaches, they get some pretty good damage out, but as we said before, it doesn't really contend with bio like this. One Roach remains, 10 more on the way because they're cheap but really strong. Pathogen Glands did complete. Did he even make an Infestor? No Infestors have come out yet, but this is a really fast Ultralisk Cavern, and this... oh boy, this is going to catch Jjakji a little bit off guard, I think. This is not something you typically see. This is a very fast Ultralisk Cavern, but more importantly, this is going to be Infestors supporting it. I mean, you can kind of go for a surprise element if you go for Ultralisk, like, surprise, you got a lot of Marines and nothing to deal with this, but then the channel player acts accordingly. With the Infestors here for support, it's going to be nearly impossible for Jjakji to deal with, I fear. We'll see how this turns out, though. Nerchio has got the Roaches here, or has got the Roaches here. Meanwhile, he's going to have to give up his third base because Jjakji's pushing with full force. He's got that fourth base to fall back on, but Marines and Marauders are here. He sees the Infestor, and that's got to be weird. That has really got to be a strange sign to see. Has he scouted the main to see the Hive even? No, so no sign of the Hive, and of course doesn't know about the Ultras Cavern either. Now, while Ultras coming out earlier are cool like this, guys, you can take a moment and be like, oh my god, this is going to be scary. They're really expensive, and they don't build very fast, and they're not going to be out anytime soon. So the Ultras are a cool move to have, but I think the 3-3 and the Adrenal Glands, honestly, paired with Fungal Growth, is going to be a little bit scarier than the Ultralisks. This is curious too. Nerchio is only just now building a Baneling Nest at 14 minutes in the game. I would have just assumed he had it down and he just wasn't building Banelings because he was being stubborn, but... Alright, he's got an Ultralisk Cavern coming down with a very standard 14-minute Baneling Nest. Of course, if you can't tell by the inflection of my voice, I was very sarcastic. This is an incredibly late Baneling Nest, and I don't agree with it at all, but he stayed in the game without it so far. Fungal Growth will serve the purpose of area of effect for the time being. It's not nearly as nasty as a Baneling hit, but it's a lot more free than a Baneling. 5th base coming here to the top left. Going to try and sneak this in. Jjakji just cleaning up creep for the time being, but this is looking a little bit... Well, let's be honest, guys. This is looking a little bit scary, because... For Jjakji, if he's playing against Mutalisks, Banelings, and Zerglings, this is perfect. This is the composition he wants to have. But for Ultralisks, Widowmines aren't going to cover it. Widowmines are simply not going to cut it. The damage is not good enough. There's not enough Marauders here. Cutting around this is going to be difficult, to say the least.
Upgrade complete.
But pushing here towards the north, the Ultralisks are revealed, and Fungal Growth goes down on the Widowmines. They are going to be detectable. Now we got the Overseer here, too. Couple Marines, and this choke might be the best thing that goes for Jjakji against Nerchio, as the Ultras have to flood in. But again, there's a Fungal Growth that lands on top of the majority of this army. The Ultras are slicing and dicing. And unfortunately, Jjakji loses the entirety of his army. The one thing he has going for him, though, the Medivacs live. There's no Mutalisks to pick this off. This is actually, ironically enough, one of the few games where Medivac drops would have been fantastic, because there's no Mutalisks to snipe them away. But the drops going down are getting picked off, and Jjakji is in for a world of trouble. His opponent's got 3-3 finishing up here in just a second's time, or at least level 3 armor upgrades. Sorry, I assumed he had gone for level 3 weapons. Adrenal Glands finish up for the Zerglings, making them a little bit more potent. And it's been no Banelings to deal with so far, but he really needs to start cranking out Marauders if he wants to deal with this. Ah, there we go. We have our first set of Banelings being hatched so far this game, guys. The Ultras can be kited away from this. The Roaches actually do not bring a lot to the party. Oh, nice Widowmine hits on the Infestors, take them out, though. No Fungals to worry about. A couple more Widowmines may go off on the Banelings. They need to go off on the Banelings, but instead go off on the Roaches and the Ultralisks. Not the best alternative. Still, though, at the top of the ramp, trying to fight against these Ultralisks. The rising odds, he picks up, he lifts, and can Jjakji stay in this game? Lifts the supply depot, but he's got a whole wall to hide behind, but that's a lot of Roaches, and still the Ultralisks on the front line are soaking these hits like champions. A couple of them are incredibly low. I think Jjakji should be able to hold this, but again, this was such a weird strategy to see. To come out of Nerchio this quickly, Jjakji might not have been prepared for it, but he holds against it really nicely. Widowmines are rearmed, a couple Roaches are going to die on the retreat. Of course, you can't quite kill an Ultralisk with a Widowmine. Hell, you can't quite kill an Ultralisk with like 4 Widowmines. But even then, they're killing out a lot of the cannon fodder units. A couple of lanes do get here into the 3rd. SCVs are dying, actually. Jjakji a little bit careless with the response there. But still in 64 workers, he's got Widowmines to boot. And for Nerchio, you know, this was an attack that was really meant to do a lot of damage. Yes, he shut down the 4th base, but merely shutting it down is not game winning here. Not against a player like Jjakji, at least. He's still comfortably mining off of that 3rd. Jjakji, whether he's forgotten or whether he can't afford it, I think it's because he can't afford it. 3-3 has been delayed, and that's really going to make dealing with these Ultralisks even more problematic. But of course, when you have to constantly invest in expensive units like Marauders, you don't necessarily think about that. But if he waits too long, oh god, if Jjakji waits too long to get his 3-3, contending with Ultralisks with chitinous plating has become even more difficult. The Infestor's still coming out here in a big way. Big props to Nerchio, though. Even though there's a drop going up here in the north, he still responds to it with these slower units. But again, this is kind of the power that Jjakji has afforded to him. With no Mutalisks to snipe off the Medivacs, carrying these around the map are more available than normal. I mean, this is a situation where you can actually drop. But army's still standing in the middle of the map. No burrows, so these Infestors will never quite get away for free. Does have to keep that in mind. Consciously, he has lost how many Infestors? 2 so far, both to Widowmines. Something he does have to think about. We have 3-3 finally on the way now that he's been given a bit of breathing space. Jjakji, it's worth noting, guys, is maxed out, whereas Nerchio's not. The problem is, when you go for Ultralisks, you'd love to max out, but they cost so damn much. It's not really a likely thing to happen. There's a lot of Marauders in this army now, too. And the Widowmines are still being produced because I think Jjakji's a little bit scared of a tech swap catching him off guard. Doesn't want to give away to the chance that maybe too many Banelings or even Mutalisks come out, but does have those tunneling claws, so can instantly burrow if necessary. Another Ultra's going to go down for free, corralled by the masses here in the middle of the map. Are enough Overseers to deal with the Widowmines? You know, I'm talking about Jjakji for these upgrades, but Nerchio's still not quite on 3-3 himself either. That's cool actually using the Infested Terrans to bait this out, but drops going off. Quite nicely sandwiched here behind the extractors. We'll buy him a little bit of surface area, but this army in the middle of the map is pushing. Cleans up the last of the creep tumors, and Nerchio's finally chokes back a little bit. This is the game getting turned around entirely and completely, but Nerchio's actually maxed out now, so he's got a much larger army than he did a moment ago. Jjakji's best bet, honestly, was probably to have tried to force out a fight before this, but he didn't know that, of course. He's used a lot of Ultralisks, and the last thing he wants to do is walk blindly into them. That's a lot of Banelings coming down with this, too. Oh, my God. So the problem for Jjakji, right, he's going to be spending a lot of time kiting back away from the Banelings to the point where he might not actually be able to engage the Ultralisks properly. We'll see what happens, though. Coming down here towards the third base, Jjakji, of course, never established his fourth. Double starport's in a bit of an odd spot, but the Sim City will pay off quite nicely. Widowmines are going to bro down, pick up an overseer, splash damage some of the medevacs, but again, this choke. Oh God, the fungal growth go off and the army's stuck in place. That allows every single Baneling to connect. Now the Ultras are going to try and get on in here. There's still a lot of Marauders standing though. Top of the ramp, and let's not forget he can always pick up in the medevac if it gets a little too dicey. But hiding behind the mineral lines, hiding behind the refinery, Jjakji using the map to his advantage, the terrain. Gonna kite this one. One Ultra's down. The Hero Marauder will finally fall. Third base is gonna go down. Huge drop off across the map though. Both players somewhat limited on economy, but of course Jjakji has no bank to fall back on. Nerchio does, and he's still mining from this northern base. Jjakji's actually mined out pretty much at the third. Even if he lands this again, he's only got a few mineral patches at his natural. He's got to lock down a fourth base, or he's gonna lose this game. Not for lack of anything, but simply economy. He's in this in a big way, and he's been holding quite strong. Marauders and Marines going to do another nice drop over here, but the Ultra's coming in. Again, it's kind of that anti-ground unit. The Kaiser Blades are slicing and dicing. The Adrenal Glands from the Zerglings will clean this up as well. A medevac falls to that Spore Core, and Jjakji is simply starving at this point, guys. He's got no money whatsoever, no gas to fall back on. Well, actually, I take that back. He's got a massive gas bank. What am I talking about? I'm insane. But he's got no minerals, and of course, at this point in the game, minerals are what you need more than gas, more than anything else. Nerchio coming forward though, not giving Jjakji any moments to breathe. No chance to reestablish a base. These SCVs are as good as dead. Oh, hold that thought. Actually, they do get clumped up, and the Marauders are going to be able to kite around these Ultralisks. Widowmines are going to take out the Zerglings, which means no cannon fodder, which means he can actually fight into this. But here come the Banelings, so there's not a lot of them. Nerchio might think he's a little further ahead than he really is, but he has to keep the pressure on. He knows Jjakji is not comfortably mining. 31 SCVs between what is barely one base. Mules need to come down, but the orbital count is not exactly high. He's only got 3. This is a point where you'd love to have like 5 extra orbital command centers just dropping down hella mules in the middle of the map, but that's not happening. Unfortunately, though, both players with their lack of economy are forced to just kind of dial it back. No one can really engage into the other to end the game. And Nerchio still, whether he's forgotten or it's on purpose, no +3 weapons coming out. Not that I think it's a big deal for the Ultralisks. I mean, Ultralisks pretty much destroy you with or without the upgrades. It's just curious to see the lack of investment. I like the fact that he's kept a lot of these infestors alive too. One of the key things you guys will notice is Nerchio's been getting some sick fungals off this game, and I mean like fantastic fungals. But both players just trying to establish a base for mining at the moment. It's kind of like 2-base Zerg versus 1-base Terran at this point. I don't think we're going to see a 5th base come out of Jjakji anytime soon, but he definitely would love to try and get one down. But again, it's one of those things that's easier said than done. Base up here to the north has been scouted. Going to take this out with a small hit squad. Should be able to get this down, especially with Stim Pack, but yeah, picks up immediately to make sure nothing crazy. Cancel, actually. Nicely done out of Nerchio. What was that? Did anyone see that Marauder shot? That concussor shell just take like a big nosedive? Shooting over cliffs always looks really weird. If you guys have ever seen Stalker shoot up like over cliffs too, they do this weird like 85-degree angle hook. Like sometimes the physics of StarCraft is really cool, and sometimes it's like suspend your disbelief, guys. Marauders aren't going to get a lot here in the middle of the map, but we'll try and catch this queen. A fungal goes off, locking us down, and I don't like the Banelings being used for that. He could have got that with just the Ultralisks, but Jjakji does have a larger army supply. Whether he can actually contend with what Nerchio has or not, that's a whole nother question entirely. There's so many Banelings that even the Marauders might be in for some trouble. No, Marauders don't take bonus damage, but of course when you've got this many Banelings, sometimes it doesn't really matter. I love the spread here, the Widowmines. Defensively, Jjakji is perfectly set in this game. But offensively, he doesn't really have the capability to do much. He's trying to drop, but as we see, even with the slow, clumsy Ultralisks and the very not fast-paced Infestors, Nerchio's been quick to reply. Or, well, respond, I should say. Picks up another. Doesn't quite get those fungals off, but actually for the first time this game, I take that back. Nerchio's actually ready to respond with these Ultralisks too. Fungal growth should lock this down, and these drops are going to get cleaned up. If he can soak some Banelings with it, like he does, more power to him. That's kind of the way you want to use this to end it. taking out the Banelings is a lot more important than the Ultralisk at this point, because of course it allows your Marines and your not Medivacs, but the Widow Mines to actually position themselves. Still more Banelings on the way. 16 are all that are available at the moment. These 10 Ultralisks, they're going to need to be cutted. We got 2 big splits, but of course fungal growths go off. A lot of infested Terrans are not actually going to be used. It's just regular fungal growths continuing to push through here. Lots of the Ultralisks have gone down, but is it going to be enough? The Marauders and the Marines are trying to try and get over the last couple of Widow Mines, but this is a small army for both players. This hero army center stepping back towards the reinforcements. There's a lot of Zerglings here. The Marauders are not well suited to deal with this. Has to back on 4th, and looks like a drop did, or not a drop, but like an attack did circumvent the middle of the map to try and pick this off. Again, kind of a low econ situation for both players where they're constantly disengaging with almost nothing left alive. Coming down here towards the south, though, another big attack coming out of Jjakji. Can he shut this base down? Widowmine's going to burrow and pick off the Infestors. Maybe no, going to go off on the Infested Terrans instead. Tries to burrow some of the Widowmines to save them for another shot. Backing away once again. Can these go off on the Widowmines? Instead go off on the Ultralisks, which are so big, so fat, they soak up those hits like it's nobody's business. Ultralisks and Widowmines. Well, actually, there's no Ultralisks left. There's like 1 left of the map. 3 more coming out. 2 more actually about to pop. Sorry, I can't read apparently. The resources lost, shockingly similar. I know it's about a 7,000 deficit, but you got to consider this is like 30 minutes in the game. I can't believe this is still happening, but still, we're kind of normalizing the game out to what would be a regular late game. The only difference is no Mutalisks are available or going to be made. A very small drop is actually going to do a ton of damage because Nerchio cannot respond to this. If he draws his army back for even a second, Jjakji pushes into the newly formed mining base. Widowmines are going to burrow once again. Can they get some good, beautiful connections on those Zerglings, allowing the army now with free reign to kite back. Ultras have no support for them at this point. The Infestors are out of energy, and in full retreat is Nerchio. Dropping the natural base, slowly chipping away at this hatchery. Small attack here, 1 Marauder, slowly but surely chipping away at this base. Well, he gets it. He gets it. Nerchio going to have to tap out. Good game is finally called, and Jjakji will even it up 1-1. This will take us to the final game, the ace match, not just between these games, not just between these series, but mostly between these 2 players and these 2 teams. Goddamn, guys. We're going to run